Hi, once again. This is the Real Talk as usual. And as always,
This is Dorcas Magova with my husband, Emmanuel Lama.
we are glad to be in your space once again. The Real Talk, a space where we get to talk about marriage, relationships, have real conversations about life. Why do we do that? Do you want to speak into that?
Why do we do that? We
Yeah.
do that because we believe that there is a lot of transformation that needs to be happening in our country, in different nations, in our world. And we believe that if every child is raised right, if every marriage is working out, we will go out happier people. We will go out and serve other people. We will go out and change the world around us because family is everything.
Amen. So today we are talking marriage as usual, and I'll be on what do they call it?
On the spot.
On the spot. I'm the one on the spot, so I will hand over to her so that I can be slaughtered nicely.
So today we are talking about, I think one of the debates has been that you find couples are struggling to meet each other's expectations, but sometimes we find we don't even know what expectations are from our spouses. So today, for me, for me, I want to know the expectations. Of course I know them, but maybe the expectations my husband is going to share are some of the expectations that women out there have of their husbands. So you're going to represent men in this conversation. And I want him to really share about the expectations he had when we were getting in the relationship. And also, of course, he should be able to tell us, did I meet the expectations? Have I met the expectations? And if not, what are we doing about it? So what are some of those expectations you had before the marriage? And maybe you can transition it into when we finally got married.
Great. I think for me the obvious one, I would be even risky enough to say every man. I do think if there is no man who doesn't expect some in marriage, the fulfillment of the sexual pleasure is our faith allows us to have that in confines of marriage. Okay, so for me, I think if a man doesn't have that, then marriage being really what it is, they would rather they won't marry. So for me, the first one was really,
having sex.
Yes,
having sex. You people was his first expectation.
It's obvious. It's the only place that God provided for me to be able to. These feelings are God given. They are natural. They are. So it's the only space that are. So that's pretty much really obvious. Then there's another angle of expectations that for me I think fed into even my choice. So they won't appear more as expectations, but in a way, because they informed my choice of who I wanted in a partner, I regard them as expectations. So one of the things that in marriage really I expected was that I don't know how to summarize it, but on the surface it's a person who is not self-obsessed about their image. Of course I needed someone who looks beautiful and all that, but I didn't want at the same time someone who spends 3 hours trying to make up.
So for me, this is actually so funny because for most of us ladies, we assume that men want us all made up, looking nice with makeup, 4 layers, lipstick, like you want us made up. So when a man comes and says, I want my woman natural, it then beats what women think you expect. So for me, I really want you to speak more into what men expect a wife material to be, a wife to be, because I think most times we misunderstand the expectations. That's why women go ahead and buy fake hips, buy fake eyes, buy fake nose, buy fake teeth. I've seen now there are those eyes they even buy. So I think we need some more explanation on that point.
Well, because for me, I begin it off as more on a personal basis.
Yeah.
My expectation being someone who is not obsessed with their self-image to the extent where, like, you know, like 3/4 of your money, of time is spent on how you look. Yes, I want my wife to look good and all that, but me, I wanted someone who has that bit of a balanced life. But that's the more point of why we're having this conversation. It's while someone can go out of their way to do these things, but is it really what you because some men, I think, like made up women and all that. But in the way you're putting all that, is it going to the right direction? The flipper is here. With some of the expectations, because now the first one we said sex, and the second really I wanted someone who put so much attention more on what they know, on learning, on growth, as opposed to being obsessed with how you look. Some of the expectations, you don't know them until they are not met. But if I remember well, you asked what I knew from the beginning. So let's first stick to. So yeah, the third one, if I can add, was more into like a home person, but a home person in a sense, not a stay-at-home wife, not someone who really stays home, but someone who really knows how to cook something.
So how did you know that I was a home person?
Part of the thing was we used to have this because the church we were going to was near the hostel.
Yeah.
And then like a good number of Sundays
he ate my food at the hostel.
she wasn't like some of us who would eat chikomando and all these things. She would cook in her room and invite a couple of friends.
And the buffet at campus.
Yeah. Invite a couple of friends. So part of it was because I liked her food. But I think beyond that,
a man's heart is through the stomach.
But I think beyond that, for me, it was more into, she can do that.
Yeah.
Then, I don't know if it's just me, but the irony in even how you do it, for me, communicates a lot.
How did I do it? I think you're telling me things I didn't even know.
Because I don't even know how to explain this. Because for me, I like someone who is fast. Fast, sort of like in a demeanor. Sort of like in a demeanor, like really doing things when there's an element of chapness.
I'm sure if my OGs are watching, they will confirm.
So I came to know that
my nickname was Express.
So for me, that was an intrinsic attraction, which in a way was an expectation.
Yeah.
But then when we talk about expectations, how we carve out expectations, what I've discovered, it's hugely influenced by the environments we grow in as we are raised, the homes we grow in. So most times as a man, you sort of like carve out how you see your dad being a husband. Or your mother being a wife. Yeah. Because I mean, for me up to this day, if I had you going out of your way of making sure I have warm water, then the shoes are brushed, then I think it would be wasted effort. Because for me, I grew up in a home where we had this very amazing wise woman for a mother who made sure, there's no girl, there's no boy in a home. If it was cooking, everyone had to cook.
And I think that's how we are raising our children as well. And someone out there watching, I'm sure you're saying, you don't know my husband, he's the kind who wants to come and sit and I serve and I do this and I remove his shoes. That is your husband. We are not saying your husband should change. We grow up in different environments. But the expectations, and I'm sure by the time you decide to marry that person, if you've dated for 2 months, 3 months, you have seen those signs. So that's why it's important to come from a place of when you were dating and now when we are in marriage.
And of course, in a way, these conversations don't come exclusive in saying, okay, let's talk about our expectations. There are things which come through what we've been saying. If people have watched the last episodes, the value and the consequences that come from being intentional about taking a walk, being intentional about all these things. So you grow up in an environment where you carve out expectations. On the platform of the church we go to, there's this marriage fellowship. Coincidentally, they were talking about almost like the same thing, of where you don't know expectations until they are not met.
That's true.
So and I think for us it has been those pausing moments of where we quarrel about things that seemingly are not consequential.
For example, for me, I expect celebration in my house. When it's a birthday, we should celebrate. When it is anniversary, we should celebrate. But then my husband comes from a place where celebration is not a thing. So the first years of our marriage, I would be mad. I would be mad. But then after understanding that that's the background, that's the environment he grew up in, where birthdays are not that important. Of course, he's learning. Now I wake up on my birthday and there is breakfast on the table for me. We are still struggling on him buying for me cake every birthday. Sometimes he buys the cake, sometimes he forgets. So we are still struggling on that, and he will get there. But it took the effort of understanding, where does he come from? Where do I come from? Yes, not that I used to celebrate birthdays in my home. We have just started the culture. And for me, I come from this background where I say, we have gone through a lot as children and we need to celebrate every moment. The sad days will come, the bad moments will come.
Just like we say, it's you don't plan for the bad days.
So why not plan for the good days? Today is Shaka's birthday, so we will cut cake.
We will cut the cake.
And the funny thing is that he will remember the birthdays for the children, but for the wife sometimes he forgets. Sometimes.
That is an accusation.
Sometimes. Especially the cake bit, because we will plan. Somehow he has this thing of, she's old, she doesn't need the cake.
No, actually, I'll be very defensive on the cake bit. Because for me, in all honesty,